Hello, and welcome to another VF tutorial. This video is about registering new vehicles with VF. By the end of this video, you should understand the vehicle registration process, including loading your assets, passing your vehicle to Vehicle Framework, using optional features of VF, and reading the registration log. As an example, this is the main patch of the Abyss mod. Let's look at it line by line. At the very top are my using directives. These make the types of other namespaces directly available in this file. Just down here you see the namespace declaration for this file, namespace Abyss vehicle. Every other file in this mod uses the same namespace. If another mod were to have the using directive using Abyss vehicle, they would gain access to the types of this mod. This file declares two classes, main patcher and Abyss vehicle config. Both classes have some attributes that declare additional information. The BepIn plugin attribute declares the unique ID, the name, and the version of the mod. The BepIn dependency attribute declares that this mod depends on another mod. In this case, Abyss requires both Vehicle Framework and Nautilus. The menu attribute declares that the contents of the class should be interpreted as an in-game menu. In other words, the Abyss vehicle config class will become a menu where the player can change settings. Now let's look at the main patcher class. Main patcher inherits from base Unity plugin, which inherits from mono behavior. That means we can implement a start method that will be called by the Unity engine when this mod starts. In this class, I also declare an instance of my config menu class. That way I can retrieve the configured values later. In the start method, I do several things. I register the menu options with Nautilus. I'll talk more about the menu class later. I declare a new instance of Harmony, and I'll use it to load all my patches. I load the Abyss assets from their asset bundle. I'll talk more about this later. I also apply the Abyss component to my vehicle model, and I rename the Abyss. This is useful to change two things: the hover text and the spawn command. Finally, I register the Abyss with Vehicle Framework. I choose to use the register vehicle later method because I don't care when it happens. I don't care when VF registers the Abyss because it is the last thing I will do. If I wanted to do something right after the Abyss was registered, I could use the register vehicle method instead, and that would look like this. In order to wait for registration to complete, I have to start a registration coroutine. Coroutines are special jobs managed by the Unity engine that execute a little bit every frame. That differs from normal methods that execute totally within a single frame. With this syntax, I can wait until the Abyss is fully registered before doing some task. Now let's take a closer look at loading our assets. Vehicle Framework makes it easy to retrieve them from asset bundles. The important class is vehicleframework.assets.assetBundle interface, and in this file, I use the using directive, vehicleframework.assets. That class has the powerful method getVehicleAssets from bundle that can be used to load our assets from the asset bundle in a single call. The first parameter is bundle name, and this declares the path from our .dll to our asset bundle file. Model name is the name of the vehicle asset in the asset bundle. Sprite Atlas name is the name of the Sprite Atlas, and Pink Sprite and Crafter Sprite are two names of sprites in that Sprite Atlas. There is also a parameter for a fragment game object, but I'm not ready to use this today. The final parameter is the name of a sprite in the same Sprite Atlas from earlier, but I'm not ready to use that one today. That image will pop up the moment you unlock the vehicle. Since I'm not ready to use either of those assets, I'm just going to leave those fields blank. This method returns a vehicle assets, and I'll use it to populate some static members of the Abyss class. The Abyss also provides a control panel and a camera GUI, so there are a couple extra lines. These assets are in the same asset bundle from earlier, but not every vehicle has a control panel or a camera GUI. When I have extra assets like this, I can load them from that asset bundle like this. where control panel and camera GUI are the names of those assets in the bundle. Then, as I'm implementing the Abyss class, I can return the model and sprites like this. Now let's talk about the menu options. The Abyss has a configurable GUI that the player can resize and relocate. So I declare 3 menu options: size, left-right position, and up-down position. Each option takes the form of a variable with an attribute. In every case here, I use the slider attribute because I want the option to span a spectrum. But there are other attributes too. See nautilus.options.attributes for more. Each of my options has a minimum value, a maximum value, and a step size. In the case of the left-right position, the minimum value makes sure the GUI doesn't go off the left side of the screen. Similarly, the max value makes sure the GUI does not go off the right side of the screen. Step determines how finely you can choose the position. I can reference the currently configured values for these options by accessing mainpatcher.config.GUISize. One other thing to know about these registration methods is that they have an optional parameter called verbose. If I were to pass an additional true here, I would get an extra amount of logging information out of Vehicle Framework. This is very useful in case something is going wrong or in case you don't understand what's happening. It may cause Vehicle Framework to output more than is necessary, but it's still useful. Here's a quick look at the verbose logging that you get if you enable it. If everything was successful, it will tell you when the vehicle began registration and when it ended. It'll tell you its ping type. It'll tell you when it starts validating the registration. And then most of this is registration verbose text, but it will also tell you when it has finished validating. These things in the middle are perhaps the most interesting. In this case, this tells me that the crush drone, which I renamed to Softy, has no modular storages, or backup batteries, no water clip proxies or canopy windows, no module proxies or battery proxies. And that's okay. Those things aren't necessary for a drone. Okay, that's all for today. If you made it this far, please like and subscribe. If you have any questions about these steps, any ideas for future videos you'd like to watch, or any other Vehicle Framework things you're curious about, please leave a comment. This has been MicJob. Until next time, happy modding.